Welcome to the show. We're so glad you're joining us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. Whether you're prepping for a busy day or maybe catching up on the latest in medical science or just, incredibly curious about how the human body works, you are in the exact right place.
You really are, because today we're taking a deep dive into the fascinating and honestly a deeply misunderstood intersection of ancient holistic practices and modern reproductive medicine.
Which is, it's a huge topic.
Oh, massive. It's a topic that requires a lot of nuance, especially given the sheer volume of data we have to unpack today.
Right.
But we've gathered a really compelling stack of sources for this deep dive. Our foundational text is this comprehensive guide titled Integrated Approaches to Natural and Assisted Reproductive Wellness.
And we aren't just looking at a textbook, right? We're backing that up with...
The heavy roster of systematic reviews and meta-analyses.
Exactly.
Pulled directly from highly respected Western medical journals.
We're talking publications like the Asian Journal of Andrology.
Yep. And Reproductive Biomedicine Online. Plus the Journal of Ethnopharmacology. Really robust literature.
So the mission for our deep dive today is to help you cut through the massive information overload that, frankly, just surrounds fertility.
It's overwhelming for people.
It totally is. We want to decode how complementary therapies, think acupuncture, customized herbal formulas, targeted nutritional supplements, how these are not just, woo-woo alternative concepts.
Far from it. They are heavily researched, evidence-based tools that can fundamentally alter and enhance conventional fertility treatments.
Exactly. So to set the stage for you, imagine you're trying to get to a really important destination, right? But there is a massive traffic jam completely blocking the highway.
Right, nobody's moving.
Nobody. Conventional reproductive medicine is essentially a highly efficient, high-speed detour right around that traffic jam.
Which is great. It gets you there.
It gets you to the destination, which is incredible. But complementary treatments serve a totally different function. They are the crew sent out to actually repair the road, clear the accident, and get the physiological traffic flowing naturally again.
That's a great way to look at it. One approach bypasses the immediate structural problem, while the other restores the foundational environment.
Right.
And the literature we're reviewing today paints a very clear picture. Operating in a state of synergy, doing both simultaneously, is where the most significant clinical outcomes are observed.
Okay, let's unpack this, because when we look at the conventional Western approach outlined in our sources, the methods are undeniably powerful, but mechanically blunt.
Very blunt.
We're talking about ovulation induction medications like clomiphene or gonadotropins, intrauterine insemination, and of course in vitro fertilization.
Yes, the heavy hitters.
Right. These interventions are incredibly effective at directly bypassing specific barriers, but they fundamentally rely on what we can call a pharmaceutical override.
That's the exact phrase to use. You are commandeering the body's natural endocrine system.
And because you're forcing a physiological response, the side effects and the wear and tear on the body are massive. I mean, let's be honest. Putting a patient through an ovarian hypostimulation protocol it's like forcing them to experience puberty, menopause, and a triple espresso crash all in the span of about 2 weeks.
It's incredibly intense. The physiological toll is immense. You are overriding the system to extract a result.
Yeah.
What's fascinating here is the mechanistic contrast provided by the complementary approach. While the Western method overrides, acupuncture and customized herbal formulas focus on optimization.
Right, they aren't forcing anything.
Exactly. They act on the hemodynamics of the pelvic region. So by increasing uterine artery blood flow and reducing vascular impedance, these therapies actually create a thicker, more highly vascularized endometrial lining.
So they're physically changing the environment.
Yes, and they naturally modulate the endocrine system to improve receptivity, completely without the extreme hormonal spikes of a pharmaceutical override.
And the statistical advantage of that optimization is what really jumped out to me in the sources. When researchers synthesize the clinical data, the numbers just speak for themselves.
The data is incredibly strong.
Yeah, the RIDE Systematic Review from 2011, for instance. It aggregated the data on traditional Chinese herbal medicine and found that herbal interventions actually yielded higher clinical pregnancy rates compared to standard Western drug therapies.
And we see that validated again recently. The 2024 Systematic Review and Meta-Analysis by Han and their team confirmed those exact findings on a much larger scale.
Wow.
They isolated herbal therapeutics for female infertility and found a significant increase in pregnancy rates when compared to a placebo.
That's wild.
It is. So we're looking at robust, peer-reviewed evidence that optimizing the body's natural vascular and hormonal systems provides a measurable, highly significant advantage over simply forcing the mechanics.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. It's not just about the hemodynamic environment of the uterus. The sources take a deep dive into gamete quality itself.
Yes, the actual cellular health of the eggs and sperm.
Right. Now, I have to play devil's advocate for a second.
Go for it.
In conventional medicine, if you have severe male factor infertility, the standard protocol is ICSI, intracytoplasmic sperm injection.
Standard operating procedure.
So if an embryologist can look under a microscope, select a single motile sperm, and physically inject it directly into the oocyte, why on earth do we need to spend months optimizing sperm quality with herbs or acupuncture? Doesn't the lab completely bypass that requirement?
It's a great question, but here's the flaw in that logic.
Yeah.
Bypassing the mechanical barrier of fertilization doesn't fix the underlying corrupted hard drive of the cell. ICSI solves the problem of a sperm being unable to penetrate the egg. That's it. It does absolutely nothing to repair high DNA fragmentation or poor chromatin packaging within that sperm.
So the sperm is inside, but it's still damaged.
Precisely. You are essentially picking the best-looking player on a profoundly sick team. If that sperm carries heavy oxidative damage, the resulting embryo is going to struggle to divide properly.
Meaning it arrests.
Yes, often leading to arrested development or early miscarriage, regardless of how expertly it was injected.
Which brings us directly to the biological mechanism of oxidative stress that the sources detail. We're talking about reactive oxygen species, or ROS, essentially acting like rust inside the reproductive system.
That's a perfect analogy. Rust.
They destroy the lipid bilayer of the sperm and severely damage mitochondrial DNA. And mitochondria are everything here.
They are the powerhouses.
Right. An oocyte has the highest number of mitochondria of any cell in the human body because it requires a staggering amount of ATP cellular energy to execute those initial cell divisions after fertilization.
And that metabolic demand is precisely why customized nutritional supplements and herbal formulas are so critical. They operate at the cellular level to neutralize those reactive oxygen species.
So they clean off the rust.
Exactly. By actively targeting systemic inflammation and supporting mitochondrial bioenergetics, you are fundamentally upgrading the building blocks of life before fertilization ever occurs.
And the aggregation of data on the male side is phenomenal. Researchers like Zheng in 2014 and Feng in 2022 have conducted extensive meta-analyses on acupuncture's effect on male infertility.
And what they found is remarkable.
Yeah, they demonstrated that acupuncture actively alters the seminal plasma microenvironment. It actually improves motility, concentration, and morphology.
Right. You combine that neuroendocrine modulation with targeted antioxidant therapies, and the results compound.
They stack up.
They really do. The Endometriosis Systematic Review from 2023 and the clinical guidelines published by Agrawal in 2021 clearly show that antioxidant supplementation dramatically improves semen parameters and the overall live birth outcomes in assisted reproductive technology.
That's huge.
It is, because you are actually repairing the cellular damage inflicted by environmental toxins, poor diet, and modern lifestyle factors. You're fundamentally changing the quality of the gamete rather than just trying to work around its deficiencies in a petri dish.
You mentioned modern lifestyle factors, which brings us to the absolute elephant in the room. Stress.
Oh, yes. The biggest factor.
For anyone listening who has been through the gauntlet of infertility, the sheer, crushing anxiety of it all is universally understood.
It's all-consuming.
Biologically speaking, that emotional burden translates directly into a physical barricade.
Oh.
We're dealing with the cortisol problem. When you're trapped in a state of chronic psychological stress, your central nervous system is in constant fight-or-flight mode.
And that wreaks havoc on the endocrine system.
Complete havoc. Elevated cortisol totally disrupts the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the HPA axis. It downregulates that release of gonadotropin-releasing hormone.
Which is the master switch.
Right, which completely hijacks the delicate hormonal cascade required for folliculogenesis and ovulation. The body essentially decides that you are fighting for your life, so reproduction is forcefully shut down.
And yet, conventional reproductive medicine largely ignores this central nervous system overload. Standard IVF protocols do not mitigate this HPA axis dysregulation.
Not at all.
If anything, the constant invasive monitoring, the daily injections, and the agonizing wait for embryo grading reports push that sympathetic nervous system response into overdrive.
Which is where acupuncture steps in as a massive physiological circuit breaker.
Exactly. It acts as a powerful non-pharmacological tool to downregulate the sympathetic nervous system and upregulate the parasympathetic response, the rest and digest mode.
Yeah, the 2022 meta-analysis by Rubin looks specifically at acupuncture's effect on IVF-related anxiety, showing a profound reduction in state anxiety scores for patients undergoing active fertility care.
And as the Hoang meta-analysis from 2023 demonstrated, lowering that anxiety isn't just about making the patient feel a little more comfortable.
It's not just a spa treatment.
Right. Lowering depression and anxiety scores builds necessary mental resilience, yes, but it also translates directly to higher clinical pregnancy rates as a secondary outcome.
Wow.
When you manually lower the physiological stress response, you signal to the body that the environment is finally safe enough to sustain a pregnancy.
This systemic, full-body optimization ties directly into the clinical black hole of unexplained infertility.
Oh, the most frustrating diagnosis.
It's arguably the most maddening diagnosis a patient can receive.
Yeah.
Being told that all standard labs and ultrasounds are perfectly normal, yet conception still isn't happening.
It leaves people feeling totally helpless.
But the sources explain that unexplained doesn't mean there is no cause. It simply means the physiological dysfunctions are occurring below the detection thresholds of standard Western diagnostics.
They aren't looking closely enough or at the right things.
Exactly. A routine blood panel isn't going to flag poor microcirculation in the pelvic floor. It might miss a low-grade autoimmune flare-up, subtle systemic inflammation, or mild subclinical thyroid imbalances that are creating a hostile environment for an embryo.
And this is the beauty of the Eastern approach. Complementary therapies don't need a definitive Western diagnostic code to begin addressing those hidden variables.
They just treat the system.
Yes. By improving foundational blood flow, lowering inflammatory cytokines, and regulating the nervous system, you are systematically optimizing the environment that the standard labs fail to accurately measure.
So what does this all mean for the listener? If you are currently navigating a fertility journey, or maybe you're advising someone who is, how does this integration actually play out in a clinical setting?
Well, it requires a paradigm shift regarding timelines. This is highly individualized, low-risk care tailored to specific follicular phases, cycle patterns, and basal body temperatures. But the texts make a critical caveat.
What's that?
Repairing infrastructure takes time. This is not an overnight pharmaceutical fix.
Right, because we are dealing with the actual life cycle of the gametes themselves. Spermatogenesis and folliculogenesis are roughly 90-day biological processes.
Exactly 90 days.
It takes about 3 months for a new oocyte to be recruited and reach full maturity, and roughly the same amount of time for a new batch of sperm to be generated from spermatogonia. You can't just undergo acupuncture for a week and expect a fundamental alteration in mitochondrial DNA.
No, you can't. The clinical consensus in the literature is that optimal results require 3 to 6 months of consistent foundational treatment.
And the safety profile.
The safety profile during that time is remarkably strong. The only minor side effect occasionally noted in the literature involves very mild digestive upset related to specific herbal decoctions.
Very minimal.
Exactly. But the broader point is that you are spending those 90 days preparing the soil before you ever attempt to plant the seed with Western intervention.
And to be abundantly clear, none of the literature suggests abandoning Western medicine. No amount of herbal medicine is going to unblock a severely occluded fallopian tube.
Never. The ultimate goal is synergy. These treatments serve as incredibly powerful adjuncts to necessary IVF interventions.
Right, they work together.
When you look at the Smith meta-analysis from 2019 or the 2022 review by Kwan, the data on integrating acupuncture specifically around the time of an embryo transfer is remarkable.
I remember reading that.
Patients who received targeted acupuncture before and after the transfer showed significantly enhanced clinical pregnancy and live birth rates compared to those who underwent the transfer alone.
To visualize how this actively plays out, the sources point to specific integrated practices acting as case studies for this unified approach. The Berkeley Center for Reproductive Wellness is highlighted as a prime example.
And their website is berkeleycenter.com for those who want to see how this works in practice.
Yeah. They utilize this exact 90-day optimization philosophy, merging customized acupuncture and herbal medicine with standard medical diagnostics. It gives patients a concrete blueprint of what it looks like to thoroughly repair the cellular infrastructure while still relying on high-tech interventions to navigate the mechanical roadblocks.
It really is the absolute best of both worlds, entirely focused on maximizing the patient's biological potential. If we connect this to the bigger picture, we are witnessing a profound evolution in patient care. We are finally moving away from an adversarial either-or mentality between Eastern and Western philosophies toward a unified, biologically sound protocol.
It's about time.
It is. Multiple perspectives enrich our understanding of the human body. When navigating something as complex, financially draining, and emotionally taxing as reproductive health, critical thinking demands that we utilize every evidence-based tool available to us.
As we wrap up this deep dive, take a moment to absorb the magnitude of this paradigm shift. Whether you are in the trenches of your own fertility journey, supporting a loved one, or simply fascinated by medical science, understanding that the absolute best clinical outcomes stem from combining the targeted high-tech intervention of Western medicine with the foundational cellular nurturing of Eastern therapies is a massive aha moment.
It changes everything.
You don't have to choose between advanced science and holistic wellness. The data explicitly proves they are fundamentally designed to work together. And I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over today.
Let's hear it.
We've just spent this deep dive exploring hard data that proves ancient, highly individualized therapies can demonstrably repair cellular oxidative stress, downregulate the central nervous system, and alter systemic hormonal pathways to successfully create human life. If these tools are this biologically powerful at the foundational cellular level, could we eventually see these complementary holistic practices become the standardized first-line foundation for treating all modern chronic diseases, rather than just acting as a specialized adjunct to Western medicine?
That raises an incredibly important question about the future of global healthcare, and it is absolutely a concept worth exploring.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. We hope you walk away feeling informed, empowered, and a little more curious about the incredible resilience of the human body. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and take care of yourselves.